thanks for joining me. And why don't you start first with what made you get in touch with me?
Sure, happy to do that, Andre. And again, as you said earlier, mate, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, albeit remote these days, but it's been a pleasure and a great journey. So my experiences, I was going through an interesting period in my life where I guess you'd call it complacency about my health, is a good way to put it. My blood sugar was going in the wrong direction, blood pressure was way too high, and my cholesterol, which has always been high for as long as I can remember, and as long as I've been tested. And so I had a meeting with my doctor, and my wife was actually sitting there with me. And, the results came back, and basically Tony's message was, do something, David, or your body's going to do something to you that you won't like. So that was a wake-up call for me. And I'd been thinking about Andre for a long time, yourself, right? Through our association professionally, plus through friends. And, I was impressed with your story. And I thought, well, you can't get any more direction than your doctor saying to you, do something, right? So that was my driver to pick up the phone and ring you. And I'm so glad I did, because to be brutally honest, it's been the easiest campaign I've ever been on. It's not a diet. It's really a change of lifestyle. But for me, the way I came at it was, this is about tuning my body, giving myself a tune up, right? I'm no spring chicken, but I've always had an enormous amount of natural energy and passion and the likes of, which has carried me through for a lot of years. But I couldn't ignore the vital signs that were going on internally. So as I said earlier, I was heading for a crash. So the campaign that we went on, I think, was brilliant in terms of cleaning the body, fine-tuning who I am as an individual, and just giving me a different headset around, or a headspace around my approach to what I eat, what I drink, and the general things around enjoying life.
What were the things you were doing that weren't helping you, that were the things you had to change, 2 or 3 things that you can go through?
Yeah, so the best way to describe it is a bead of honey, a very sweet tooth, right? So I loved everything that was wrong for me. Sweets, ice cream, lots of packaged food, so carbohydrates galore, right? And I just didn't realise, maybe I was naive and just didn't have the tenacity or the energy to go out and research it. And I think that's where the guidance from you came in around, here are some fundamental things you should stop today, Dave, which was, don't have any alcohol for at least 3 months. And look, when you get through this, if you decide to have a drink, just have one. And that was great. That really resonated with me. And that was easier than I thought to achieve, to be honest, and fantastic. I started sleeping well, because I was having issues of a night. I'd wake up with my heart thumping through my chest, and wasn't sleeping well, despite the fact that I'm a very good sleeper. And so there was that. There was getting rid of the carbohydrates. So basically anything that's in a package, get rid of it. And then there's the, avoid the sugary things. So, bourbon and cokes and the likes of were my favourite. So they were the fundamental things that changed the way I am today. I'm wrapped, I got down to 8 kilos. It's the easiest weight loss I've ever done. And the energy levels I got back were even greater than what I had before. Sleeping really well, everything. It's just great. It's just it's a complete tune-up, both psychologically and internally, physically.
Yeah, great. All right. And Dave, you said you're on medications, and I know what's changed there. So can you share something about maybe the medications you're on for diabetes and what's changed there?
Yeah, so I was on metformin for diabetes, 4 tablets a day. We did a blood test halfway through the campaign, and I was blown away by the results. Just like I know you were when you saw the results. And my doctor, Tony, who's a big fan of this particular type of solution, if you like, You know, he was impressed as well. And I mean, for me, the blood sugar is in the normal range now, which is great. So I'm on a campaign now with my doctor to completely reduce the tablets to 0. I've gone from 4 to 1 a day. And when I can naturally keep the sugar under control, there'll be no more tablets. And that was always a strategy for you and I, was to get me off the diabetes. And that's a plan that's coming together really well.
Yeah.
My cholesterol was always high, in the high 6s, 7s. Last blood test, 3.4, perfect. Triglycerides, everything well aligned. And, you know, that was cutting back, I think, you know, as you say, a lot of the carbohydrates, the fatty food, not the fatty food, sorry, you know, the unnecessary foods. And the blood pressure is perfect.
You know, you often hear, this is probably second last question, is you often hear people that have diabetes, and you hear the diabetes associations and diabetes educators often saying diabetes is for life. You can't, you're going to be on the medication for life. Well, were you ever told that? And what do you think about that now that you've made these simple changes to the way you eat and drink?
Yeah, look, I was told. I'm a type 2 diabetic, and I was told that if you don't do something about it, well, you're absolutely right. You're on this forever, right? There's no reversing it. I'm going to have a longer life, and I'm going to enjoy the grandkids and the wife and just life generally, right?
Yeah.
I'm still actively working in a sales role, you know, a lot of pressure in that business today, and as it always is. And mate, I'm well equipped for it, prepared for battle.
What would you say to someone who's a bit older, like us, like you and I, and a bit overweight, who likes their beers and they're drinking with their mates and eating the chips and ice cream at night, and they've got a bit of a tummy? Like, you weren't really overweight, but, you know, there are people that are quite overweight, and they just think that they can't be bothered exercising, or they're exercising and nothing's happening. What would your message be to them if they're sort of
Yeah,
fed up, or they just say to themselves, well, I'm getting old, it's normal to get fat and sick?
yeah, that's right. And that's an attitude you can slip into quite easily. So my advice to them would be, it's interesting, you use the word exercise, which I haven't spoken about. No exercise for me other than what I do normally. This was controlled by what you are, what you eat, basically, and what you drink. Yeah. So that my message is, don't go onto a diet and, you know, exercising and all that, because it's not going to work, right? And how many stories do you hear about that? Don't procrastinate like I did. Don't get yourself in a position where the doctor's telling you very seriously, you got to do something, or something bad's going to happen to you, right? Pick up the phone and call you, Andre. You will have a completely different experience, and it will change your health and your life, because this is also about attitude, right? And the attitude naturally comes from the fact that it's quite easy to follow your guidance and leadership and the program to lose weight and get fit. And it's not just about losing weight either. For me, it was about reducing the sugar, getting the blood pressure down. You know, I did have a little pot belly. I got a flat gut now. I love it, right? So my advice is, don't procrastinate. Pick up the phone and call Andre. Change your life.